What's up, my people? What's going on? I'm trying to get all of my stuff together. I am glad to be here. If you are tuned in on YouTube and can hear me, I want you to say what's up in the chat area. I am trying out something new, and my phone, you might hear it chiming. There's several people that have reached out looking for the link and just trying to make sure that we get it to as many people as we can. And so if you're tuned in, make sure you say what's up in the chat area. And we're going to do what we can to make sure that we get this link out to everybody that's watching. So if you're in the chat area, say what's up. If you can hear me, make sure you say what's up in the chat area. We've got a very exciting conversation for you tonight. And I'm excited to be here and certainly hope that you are as well. So, again, if you are tuned in, make sure you say what's up in the chat area so that we can get this party started. All right. So, say what's up. If you can hear me, let me know you can hear me. Start liking this video. Good. People are saying what's up. So, I know I'm not talking to myself. And we're going to do what we can to get going here in a couple of minutes and get started in what is probably going to be one of the most candid conversations I've had um, in the social media space. I have not done a lot of work on YouTube, and a lot of the developments over the last couple of weeks, in fact, have really reminded me of the importance of getting back to this work. And we'll talk about that in a second. But in the meantime, I want you to share this video with as many people as you can. And I promise you, somebody's going to get something out of this tonight. But again, if you've ever been around me for any significant period of time or known me, you already know this is going to be a very candid conversation. And I am excited to be able to share this conversation with you on tonight. All right. And so, again, I want you to share this video. If you have not already, I want you to like this video, share the video, and let's get as many people in the room as we can. And I'm going to talk to you about why I did some things the way I did it. I was very intentional in some things that I did and chose to do and chose not to do for tonight. And I will talk about that in just a second. But in the meantime, again, I want you to share this video, like this video if you have not already. Make sure you like it, and let's get this going. This is going to be a lot of fun, and this again is going to be a very candid conversation. And so I need you to like the video if you are tuned in, so that as many people as possible can see this content. I believe this, and this is what I firmly believe. I believe that everybody that's supposed to see the video will see the video. I believe in that wholeheartedly, and that's the way I've always functioned. And and so I'm excited tonight, and this is going to be a lot of fun. So again, like the video, share the video if you're tuned in tonight. Make sure you say hello in the chat area. Let us know that you're in the room tonight and that you tuned in. And then after you do that, I want you to make sure you share this video with someone and invite them to tune in. Again, will be without a doubt the most candid conversation I've ever had on social media. I'm going to share some things tonight that are quite personal, but that will certainly explain a lot of different things that hopefully will make a lot of sense to all of you. And so, again, I want you to like the video, share the video. I am trying to find a way to share this on my Facebook story and IG story. There are quite a few people that are reaching out that apparently are having a hard time with the link. And so we're going to figure this out really quickly, and then we're going to get going because I got a lot of ground to cover tonight. And I really want to take my time. I do. I want to take my time and make sure that I deal with all the stuff that I need to deal with related to the content at hand. And so, again, Like the video, share the video. I'm just looking for a link really quickly. We're going to put this link on our page. And then once we do that, we're going to get everything started and popping for you here in a second. Again, you didn't like the video, make sure you like the video. I certainly hope you've been having a tremendous week so far. Again, as I said earlier, it is my goal to do more content on YouTube. And the last couple of weeks were just a reminder to kind of get back to one of the things that I do well and I've been doing for a long time, aside from social media. And again, I'm going to talk about all of that in a second. All right, I'm trying my best to find this link. I can't find it. I don't know where the link is, but I am going to try to do this. Let me see if I can get to the stream, and I'm going to get the link, and we're going to get it out on Facebook and IG, and then we're going to go. All right, so let's do that really quickly, and then we're going to move tonight. And again, I really appreciate you tuning in. This is going to be a very candid conversation, and I'm going to explain why I did it the way I did it, and I'm going to be very clear about it. And then I'm going to talk to whoever tunes in tonight because this is very important to me. It is very much more important that you are sincere and authentic in your work than you are doing things for likes, clicks, things like that. And I'll be frank with you, the last couple of weeks have been very uncomfortable to watch. If I could be honest with you, very uncomfortable to watch because while I do believe there are a lot of content creators that have been doing content in a very authentic way, if you paid any attention to social media at any point, you will notice that there were also a lot of content creators who were really doing this just to receive views, just to receive likes, just to receive clicks. And so it's unfortunate, but it's the time that we live in, and so I was not about that, and I did not want to. Um, I did not want to. Thank you. Good, it's been shared on my page. I did not want to. Um, I did not want to utilize anybody's death or anybody's circumstance as an opportunity for personal gain. This is a thing that I believe, and it's old fashioned, but it's okay. And that is if you're going to build a name or if you're going to do a work that is authentic, you should be willing to build that work off of um, your own work. And so many people, unfortunately, are attempting to get to the top by standing on the shoulders of a building that somebody else built. And while it's okay to um, while it's okay to network and do things like that, it is also important if you're going to be a trailblazer. It's very important to make sure that you do whatever you can to do your own work and to do it off of your own morals. And so tonight's going to be fun. It's going to be fun, but it's going to be honest, and and we're going to deal with some stuff. All right, I'm trying to share this really quickly. Share the feed. No, I don't want feed. Share to page. No. Okay. All right. Okay, here we go. Good. All right, it's shared. Now, um, I want to talk. I want to talk tonight about kind of how I got here, and why I'm having this conversation in the first place. Okay. So if you're in the chat area, make sure you say what's up. And not only that, I want you to be sure that you share this content with as many people as you possibly can. So we all know 2 weeks ago, Kevin Samuels passed May the 5th, Cinco de Mayo, which is going to be a very easy day to remember when it comes to his passing, passed May the 5th. And when he passed, to be honest with you, I, like most people probably thought it was a joke. I thought it was a joke. And, typically anytime you are doing any level of work or significant work, whether you agree with the work or not, typically anytime you're doing any level of significant work, there is a time where your death is going to be faked. Okay. And so I thought it was just another one of those situations where we had someone whose death was faked. And I thought that was that. That was all. That was that. That's all I thought it was. Well, found out that it was not. That was not the case. That he had actually passed, and unfortunately, his passing, as you know, really created a firestorm of a lot of conversation, not just in this country but around the world. Let me say this, and I'm gonna ease into my style in a second. But this is a very uncomfortable conversation for me, and the reason it's very uncomfortable is not because I have weakened my stance or perspective or approach to empowering people. If you've known me for any significant amount of time, my approach has always been honest and candid, and tonight is going to be probably as raw as I've ever been in my life. Okay, so I'm just warming y'all up and getting y'all ready. Without a doubt, it's going to be probably as raw as I've ever been. But let me say this: the reason why this makes me uncomfortable is because really I have spent the last 2 weeks just observing the pulse of this country. Okay, observing the pulse of this country specifically, and observing the way people have responded to his death, and it's really bothered me in a lot of ways. Let me start here, all right? And because I've got a couple of things jotted here. How was I introduced to Kevin Samuels? I never personally met him, but a couple of months ago, if you follow me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, I've been on those channels or those outlets more than any other outlet. If you follow me on social media, you would know that right around October of last year, I started a Facebook Live, and I talked about. I did a live on the church, and I talked about how the pandemic has changed the church and what the future of the church looked like. And it was a very challenging conversation for some, but it really sparked a lot of conversations. And infused into that, I did some talking about relationships and how men and women or couples interact with one another. And I started getting feedback, hey, we want more of this content. And so this was September, October of last year. And I started doing lives every other week, right? So probably right around December, a friend of mine reached out and said, hey, Zeb, um, you remind me of this guy named Kevin Samuels. I said, who was Kevin Samuels? And because I didn't know who he was. And it's like, yeah, you remind me, you give me this Kevin Samuels kind of flavor. And I was like, cool, 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 whatever. I don't know what that means, but that was that. I didn't have time to look it up. And then one of my coworkers actually sent me a link. And probably about 2 months after that, said the same thing. Hey, I want you to check him out. I think I did a done a link on something. I think it was something about why relationships fail or something like that. And I talked about masculine and feminine energy, and it was a very It was a very hot conversation on Facebook. And she sent me a link to Kevin Samuels' content. And so here I am watching Kevin Samuels. It was late. It was almost 11 o'clock at night because, yeah, as we all know now, he did all of his streams late at night. And so here I am laying in the bed, I've got my iPad there, and I'm watching this guy. And the first 6 minutes of the conversation, I'm warming up. The first 6 minutes of the conversation, I was sitting there with my mouth wide open, okay, wide open, and not in shock because of what he was saying. My mouth was wide open because I had finally met somebody. I felt like, I didn't meet him personally. I finally felt like I met someone who was bold enough, like me, to just say what it is. Okay. Now, granted, his content, what he shares, the things that I share are not apples to apples, but you go back and look at some of the videos I've done. We talked about very much some of the same, very similar things, right? We all know his style, his approach to doing it. I'm going to come to that in a second. But that was the thing that really shocked me. I was like, wow, like this is really eerily similar to a lot of the things that I say. But more than that, this guy has like zero, he has zero chill. Like he's literally saying what it is. And he's not backing out of it. And so I took note of that. I took note of that and I immediately became hooked. I did. I'll admit I became hooked. And oh, by the way, if you agree with anything that I'm saying, just say church. Just put church in the comment area. I'm going to explain this in a second. So it's real simple. Let me help y'all. If anything I'm saying makes sense, just say church. Okay. And in fact, you can put as many H's on the end as you want to. All right. I'll explain this in a second. Okay. Now, so the crazy thing is, he's talking, and I'm like, wow, this guy really is just telling it like it is. He's holding no punches. He's putting it all out there, and not only is he putting it all out there, but he's doing it in a way. He's doing it in a way that is without regard to people's feelings. He could care less what people are thinking. He's saying things that is probably making people cringe. Um, but he's just keeping it 100. So I watch a few of his videos, and the more I watched him, the more, how can I put this before I really just kind of go where I want to go tonight? The more I watched it, the more I became reminded, honestly, of my own purpose. Okay. And this is what I want to explain. So, if you follow me, you know anything about me, you also know I run a career center. And not only do I run a career center, I have a coaching consulting practice. I started off in professional career development work when I was 25 years old. And so I've been teaching college students, established professionals, career professional development for eons, right? Teaching them how to prepare for the workforce, which includes professional dress and interviewing skills and how to prepare yourself for the workforce, how to do effective job searches, that stuff. I've been doing that for a very long time. But I also pastor a church called the Rehab Christian Center, and it is a non-denominational church. And when the name for that church came to me, it was very non-traditional in that it does not have some kind of traditional lofty name to it. But rehab is an acronym that really represents 5 pillars that represent the way our church does ministry. But one of the monikers of our church, and frankly, my monikers, has been always approaching ministry in a very candid, straight up way. Most of my members are what you would deem non-traditional, unchurched members. A lot of my members are first generation church members, and so they didn't grow up in church. They don't dress like church people. So our messages really are biblical, but they really speak to folks who traditionally have not understood church, right? And so when you're in that space in a traditional, what I would call a traditional industry that is church, then you instantly become the black sheep. When your message is, hey, the gospel ain't for saints, it's for sinners, that puts a target on your back. Okay. That puts a target on your back. And I always tell people, me and some of my close friends talk about this and laugh about this all the time. If I decided to wear a robe every Sunday and do communion every first Sunday and make people dress up every Sunday and do praise break clips every week, my church would be packed to the brim. Um, it's not. And the reason it's not is not because there's not effective ministry or word, but it is because my approach has always been against the grain. Because if we want to make this a religious conversation, Jesus's approach was always against the grain. While everybody was running towards the saints, he was always going after the sinners. And that's the approach that I've always taken. So don't let these things fool you. Okay. So I saw a man teaching, Kevin Samuels, who was teaching in a way that was very much against the grain. Like the video, share the video. Okay. He was very much teaching against the grain. And he was saying things that people would not say, but a lot of people really felt. And I saw myself, I was like, wow, he's really comfortable in a space that people avoid, but it is his comfort in the truth that really is the reason why he would have anywhere from 8,000 to 9,000 people tuned in on a live, right? And it brought me to several conclusions. And I want to go through a list of these tonight. It's going to take some time, but I got a lot to say. Number one, watching him work made me realize that people hate the truth, they hate criticism, and they hate a different perspective. Okay? People hate the truth, they hate criticism, and they hate a different perspective. Now, I'm going to touch on a little bit of everything. And so if you're sensitive, you might want to log off. Okay? I'm just going to be honest with you. People hate the truth, they hate criticism, and they hate a different perspective. And when we understand this, then we understand that as a society as a whole, we have become extremely, what I call extremely extreme, meaning we tend to swing from one pendulum to the next, right? On extremes. As a society, we tend to be, what's the easy way to put it? We tend to be kind of all or nothing, right? Either, you're left, you're right. Either you are Republican, you're Democrat. Either you are, and bear with me, I'm a teacher and a speaker by trade. So I'm laying the foundation before I knock all the bricks down. We tend to either be, liberal or Republican, black, white, right? Extreme to as a society, instead of really learning how to get to a place where we are kind of in the middle, meaning as a society, there are some things that we see and experience that are right. And there are some things that we see and experience as a society that's wrong. Okay. So it does not have to be a situation where it is either or, is what I'm getting at. Right. And as a society, we tend to be that way. Things either have to be this way or that way, and they can't be a little bit of both. And I think this is really a good place to go ahead and get this out of the way so I can just be free and say what I want to say. And that's this. Did I agree with everything he said? No. Okay, let's just go ahead and deal with this from the beginning so I can get this out the way, and then I can completely just deal with everything that he said and make some of y'all upset. Did I agree with everything that he said? No. But just because you don't agree with everything that somebody says does not give you the right to demonize the things that they say. I want to say this again. Just because you don't agree with everything that somebody says, it does not mean you demonize everything they say. Say church. Okay. If it's making sense, just type church. Okay. Doesn't mean you demonize everything they say. And unfortunately, this is the society we live in. We live in the society where if we don't fully agree with you, we don't agree with none of you. Listen to me. If we don't fully agree with you, we don't agree with none of you. Okay. And so it is these extremes that people tend to swing on is a space where we get in trouble. Now, people got offended by his generalized statements. He would make generalized statements, about different things. People, tried to say, he wasn't living what he preached and all of this stuff. But there are a couple of things I want you to know about research. I have a real PhD. Okay. And one of the things I can tell you about research is that when you make conclusions in research typically are about majority patterns, right? So when you have a majority pattern about a particular topic, you make a conclusion based on majority data. So if you make a conclusion that, all bald-headed people can't drive, right? And that is based on research, you're not really saying all bald-headed people can't drive. You're saying based on the majority of the data that you've researched, that there is a high enough percentage of bald-headed people that can't drive that allows us to be able to say that bald-headed people can't drive. Does this make sense? Okay. So when he made statements like, if you're a certain age and you can't do this or you can't have this, I found it odd that everybody was offended by this, when all they had to realize is that if the shoe didn't fit, you didn't have to wear it. Now, I'm going to get in trouble here, but this is going to be fun, and I'm just getting warmed up. He dealt with what was the norm and not the exception. And this is so very important because when we deal with data, data always speaks to norms. Data doesn't speak to exceptions. Data speaks to norms. We form conclusions from data that are based on norms, not exceptions. And when we know this, then we can get a greater appreciation for the things that he taught. Now, whether you realize it or not, in my eyes, this man was really a voice for the thoughts of Black men. Now, I know at the end of his career, the majority of his viewers were probably women. He did shows. He began to tailor his content towards women. But one of the first videos I saw of him, and I'm going to see if I can find it and maybe even put it on the screen. One of the first videos that I saw of him was a video that he did where he talked about, high value men and what men needed to do to get their acts together. So this was right in the middle of women, saying he's a misogynist. I'm going to get to that a little bit later. He's this, he's that. If you go back and look at his earlier content, and this is important, where his content started, it was never for women in the first place. His content, church, was never for women in the first place. That's number one. Okay. And I think this is a very important place to start because at the end of the day, his initial goal as a content creator, go back and look at his content, was to empower men. And this is needed. We listen in society all the time. We hear things like happy wife, happy life, right? That stuff. And we praise that for years and years. But what about the husband? What What about the man in the relationship? Doesn't matter how happy he is. And what he really revealed as he transitioned from a focus of content on men to women, what he really revealed was really a society that we live in that, whether we want to admit this or not out loud, has been unevenly skewed towards the needs and the wants of women, particularly. I'm not talking about in all things, particularly as it relates to relationships, the needs and wants in women, making those needs more important than the needs and wants for men. And he highlighted that. Okay. And people didn't like it when his content began to become so popular with women. They lost sight of the fact that the content was never for women in the first place. Now, I'm going to say something. I'm just getting warmed up. This is about to get fun. Ladies, I mean this with all sincerity. You can't have it both ways. You cannot have it both ways. I am the proud father of a daughter and a son. My daughter is 9 years old. My son is 8 years old. I love them both the same. There is literally nothing I would not do for either one of them. But when I correct my children, my tone with my son is different than my tone with my daughter. Why? Because while I love them both the same, the reality is they are not built to be able to take criticism the same way. They're not. You don't have to like it. It's just what it is. Men tend to be more logical based, more reason based. Women tend to be more emotionally based, more emotionally centered. And it is two different dynamics that opens up this realm or this conversation on masculine energy, feminine energy, and what that looks like. So I don't address my daughter the same way I address my son, because I can raise my voice at my son. He might feel some kind of way, but he gets over that. He makes a judgment. He does what he needs to do. If I raise my voice at my daughter, the experience is a little bit more traumatic for her, because as a man, it ain't natural for me to scream and yell at her. Now, why are you making this such a big foundation before you hurt us? Because y'all already know, if you've ever followed me, you know I'm about to get you. The reason I'm making this a big deal is because if you go back to his original content, ladies, it was never for you. This thing on? Ladies, I'm saying that, let me cut up my stuff. Ladies, the content was never for you. It was never for you. But here's the thing. I believe women are naturally attracted to spaces where there are men that are thriving in intellect. This is about to get ugly. Spaces where there are men thriving in intellect are always places that are attractive to women. And I believe that as this man started his content, and go back and look at it, he had content, he had videos up where he only had like 70 some views. He talked about it, like 70 some views. And it was just men, and he was just putting it out there for men. But the content, he kept going with his content. Women started to hear his content, the things he was saying to men, and the women were attracted to his content because of his content. And then women begin to bombard that space. Now, listen to me. That's fine. I don't have a problem with the fact that women bombarded that space. But ladies, listen to me. If you walk in a locker room with a bunch of dudes that just finished the sport, just finished the game, and you walk in the locker room with them and you have been welcomed in their locker room, you have to be prepared for the environment that you just walked into. And so if we talk about Kevin Samuels, I think one of the things that he did that perhaps he could have adjusted, and maybe not, that's his style, it's his thing. I'm not here to criticize and say he should have adjusted anything. That's his approach. That's what it is. That's what he lived with. But the reality is, when you walked into his locker room, you walked into the same kind of stuff he was given to men on a regular basis. And this is a very important thing to understand. He did not let down, he did not take down, he did not water it down, but the same stern message he gave to men, he also gave it to women. Okay? Now, one of the first videos again that I watched was where he talked to men and he gave men, he said, what is a high value man? And it was about a 3-hour video. I was actually sitting in a restaurant eating a fish sandwich on my cheat day. And he's going through this video and I had my headphones in and he is just laying dudes out, calling them fat, lazy, slobs. You need to get out your mama's basement. He's going, and I'm sitting there eating like, wow, like he's really letting us have it. He's going in. And I really was attracted to the message, not towards women, but towards men. So I'm going through his catalog. The second video that I saw then, and let me see if I can share my screen here because I want you, if you're looking, I don't have time to play all of it, but let me show you something. Hopefully you can see my screen here. The second video that I saw was a video called Women Are the Enemy. Y'all, I'm slow roasting this tonight. By the time I hit my stride, y'all gonna be passing out. Okay, just let me build the foundation. Second video I saw was a video he did called Women Are the Enemy. And in this video, and I can't remember exactly where it was in the video. Let me see.
There's no way in hell you quit on life because one girl.
Let me see. Let me
Not
see.
for everyone.
He has a girlfriend. Masculinity. If you're afraid to even try.
I want you to watch this video when you get a chance. And I don't have time to find it. Okay? But it's called Women Aren't the Enemy. And in this video, he proceeds to ask this young man how old he was. Was he working? Was he in college? How much money did he make a week? I think the young man said he made like $400 every 2 weeks. And he said, I'm doing pretty good. I make $402 every 2 weeks. And Kevin was like, no, I was making way more than that at your age. And so then he asked him, he said, is your daddy around? And I'm gonna come back to that because he had a habit of asking just about every caller, where was your father? Man, I'm coming for you in a few. Where's your father at? And guy, I think on this particular call, the guy said, his dad was never around, whatever. Then he asked him for a spec. How tall are you? He told him, how much you weigh? He did that. And then he proceeds to say, oh, you are fat, whatever. And he lays into the kid, lays into him. And meanwhile, I'm sitting there like, wow, not that I wanted him to stop, but I'm like, it's been since my basketball days. Coach Tony Jones, my father, who would get in our face and just completely let us have it, grab us by the jersey and throw us out the way. I had not seen somebody be as open and candid as I had seen him do it. And that's when I remembered and realized this man is really trying to empower men, and this is a much needed thing. Now, say what you want. I kept watching his videos and I noticed, if this is making sense, put church in there. If you saw the same thing, maybe I ain't making no sense. That's fine. But if I am, on type church. Let me know you tuned in. I noticed he was talking about things like marriage. You need to get married. You need to get a husband. You need to get a wife. Or he's talking about things like promiscuity and not sleeping with everybody, especially when it came to ladies. He talked about raising your kids and having bad attitudes. He talked about lazy men and masculine and feminine energy being mismatched. Men having more feminine energy and not, being lazy, not being willing to work and go grind and do what it takes to be high value. And ladies being more like men and not being willing to be feminine women. And I said, this is an amazing message. I've been saying this for the last couple of months, but he is just saying what it is. And y'all ain't gonna like this, but I don't care what y'all say. And I'm especially talking to all my Black friends. I got friends of all races, from all walks of life, all beliefs, everything. Let me say this, y'all. There is no more toxic bond than the relationship between a dysfunctional Black man and a dysfunctional Black woman. Church. I'll say it. You ain't got to type it. Church. There might not be a more toxic bond than when you connect a dysfunctional Black man with a dysfunctional Black woman. And what his work exposed was the need to connect and better the relationships. Yes, he inspired all kinds of races, but his work was really designed to better the relationships between Black men and Black women. Now, when the man passed, we saw the need for this. Because I'm going to be honest with y'all, I have never in my life felt more disgusted than to see men and women actually be excited that somebody was dead. Now, I hear you. Oh, well, he didn't have that kind of energy when he was alive. I ain't have that energy. I didn't have positive energy for him when he was alive. I don't have positive energy for him. It's not about having positive energy. You don't have to have good things to say about anybody that passes. But when you take it to the extreme of, say, a Vivica Fox who calls it karma, that this man passed, meanwhile, God has yet to serve karma on your uncle that touched you when you were 6, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And see, we have a tendency to strike up words like God and karma when it's convenient for us. Because if karma was really in play like it should be, R. Kelly would have never made it to prison. The same R. Kelly that y'all still dance to, twerk to, make babies to, get your back blown out to. The same R. Kelly that also was one of the most prolific abusers of Black women that ever existed. Have y'all liked the video, shared the video? Make sure you do that, because I'm getting warmed up now. Name another more abusive, name a greater abuser of Black women than R. Kelly. And listen, he didn't just abuse. Why y'all not saying church in the comments? I told y'all, I just needed time to just warm up. I'm getting warm now. he not only abused black women, he abused black girls. And y'all didn't have this same kind of energy for him when the stuff started leaking about him. In fact, let me tell you what y'all were doing. Y'all were sharing the tape. He was urinating on folks' face, and y'all were sharing the tape and still singing the song. All you have to hear is, my mind's telling me no, and y'all forget about all the 14-year-olds he rubbed. I see the same 5-6 people saying church. Y'all scared to say it. It's okay. I'm gonna help you tonight. There is not a more prolific abuser of black women than perhaps R. Kelly, and he don't even get this much heat from our community. In fact, I think it was D.L. Hewley or somebody that said, well, at least he makes us feel good. R. Kelly made us feel, because this came up, R. Kelly made us feel good. And yeah, he did his shortcoming, made us feel good. So it ain't about feeling good. He also touched your 13-year-old daughters. And this is the crazy thing. You say that you were offended by Samuels, but he had more female subscribers than he did males. So apparently, it couldn't have been as bad as y'all thought. Or could it be that as much as we hate to admit it, what he reminded us of is that the truth is still in style? Now, I've got a friend who can attest to this. I don't know if she's tuned in tonight. Y'all share the video, like the video. And yeah, I'm getting warmed up, man. I can't wait for my next videos after tonight. This is going to be great. I got a friend that can attest to this. The same friend that told me he had passed. I really felt bad. And I revealed to her, I said, listen, I was about to set up a coaching session with him. His coaching sessions were a couple of $1,000s. And I was about to set up a coaching session, not for dress. I didn't need help with that, but really to talk to him about branding and really carving out a lane that's unique. Because in the space that I operate in the spiritual world and the professional world, I wear different hats in different spaces. It's hard to carve a single brand, especially when your brand is very controversial. You say stuff that other preachers and pastors won't. And I had already filled out his interest form, did all that stuff. 2 days later, the man passed. And but it was really confirmation for me that if you look at all of his female subscribers, there's really this hunger for the truth that we don't need to ignore. People today are more hungry for the truth than they've ever been. And this is one of the reasons why you don't see a lot of people in churches anymore. Now, folk can say what they want to. Most churches today have been minimized to 6 and 7 minute praise breaks. You get a good dance, shout clip on, folk passing out, and you share that, and that goes viral. Meanwhile, what's being preached, what's being taught ain't helping nobody. It ain't empowering you. Your life ain't getting better. You're not being told the truth. You're being told stuff you want to hear. People are not telling you what you need to hear instead of they're telling you what you want to hear instead of what you need to hear. And meanwhile, nothing in your life is changing. And that's why a lot of people say, listen, ain't no need to be going to church. They talk about the same stuff we talk about. And when I go there, I feel like I'm in the barbershop, the beauty salon, whatever. There is no difference. So why should I waste 3 hours out of my Sunday going in a place where I'm not going to hear something that's going to challenge me? I've been saying this for years. So his work really revealed the fact that there's a need for the truth. But let me tell you something else it revealed. This is where I'm about to hurt everybody's feelings. It also revealed the fact that we are living in sensitive times. This is by far the most sensitive era that has ever existed in our world. Thank you. I'm starting to see more churches. Y'all warming up because I'm warming up. It's about to get ugly. There has never been a more sensitive time ever in the history of mankind than right now. Some of y'all just sensitive. I said it. I don't care what you say. You sensitive. You're sensitive. You can't take feedback. You can't take criticism. You can't take anybody that has an opinion different than yours. And you don't really like the truth, except for when the truth hits everybody else but you. And he revealed that there is this weakness in not only the truth, but it even trickles down to our kids. You know, we raise sensitive kids. There's a book I would challenge you to read. It's called The Trophy Kids Grow Up. I'm going to put it in the chat. I'm still working my way around this software here. The Trophy Kids Grow Up. It's the name of the book. And if I can find the link real quick, because this is a book I'm going to challenge all of you to find and read it. I didn't say this earlier, but my research, my PhD research, I've got a real PhD. My PhD research was on generational studies. I put the link in the chat. And so part of my research is understanding the different generations, how the millennials interact with Gen Z and Gen X and the boomers and the lost generation. That's what my research is in. So what I'm about to say to you is not fantasy. This is based off of real research. I got a real PhD. It's the real deal. I didn't pay for it. Well, I paid for it, but I didn't go online and buy it like some of y'all do. Okay. But he revealed that we are in sensitive times. And he fought for old-fashioned truth in a world where right is considered to be wrong and wrong is considered to be right. You have to like this, but there ain't nothing cute about a grandma going to the club with her daughter and they twerking together. When you are at grandma status, your club days ought to be going away. So we don't like that. How dare you say that to us? Because right is still right and wrong is still wrong. And he really dealt with that kind of stuff. See, truth ain't subjective. Truth is not subjective, it's objective. And this is the problem that I have. I hate this whole phrase, my truth. I'm living in my truth. Like, bro, I can't stand when people say, and it's common. If people say all the time, I'm living my truth. Truth doesn't belong to you. You don't possess it. Truth is objective. Truth is what it is, whether you like it or not. You don't own truth. Okay? So truth has no preferences. Truth is the truth if we dealing with you. Truth is the truth if we dealing with your daddy. Truth is the truth. And see, what he revealed is while his message was really appealing, there were some people that were really booty hurt because he let everybody have the truth regardless of who you were. Male, female, straight, gay. I'm going to come back to that in a second. Whatever it was, he let you know the truth about your situation. And people did not like it. And it's a reflection of the sensitive times that we're in. Now, I started to wait until after his autopsy to do this, but then I thought about that thing. Like, forget that. No, wait, I don't care what his autopsy reveals if it ever comes out. Can't nobody say nothing about nobody in this day and time without people getting offended. Period. Truth is for everybody. Truth belongs to church people. Truth belongs to street people. Truth belongs to me. Truth belongs to you. The truth belongs to everybody. And if we would take more time to embrace the truth about our lives, not what we want to hear, but what we need to hear, it would challenge us to be better. Kevin Samuels was a walking mirror. That's all he was. He was a walking mirror. You didn't have to like what he said. You didn't have to always agree with what he said. You didn't have to agree with the approach to what he said. But he was a walking mirror. And a lot of what he said was just a reflection back to us of what it really was. But this generation's sensitive, man. And it starts with our kids. We can't take the truth, and especially in the times that we're in. I remember my little nephew. I've shared this story with I've done thousands of presentations. I shared this story with folks, leaders before, young leaders, especially my nephew CJ, who is not little anymore, taller than me, bigger than me. But I'll never forget, he was playing youth football. This was years ago. It's before Giselle and Four were even born. And he called me and said, "Uncle, come to my game. We playing for the championship and want you to come. It's the last game of the year. It's a championship game. We're gonna get trophies." Okay. So I drove from Greensboro, went to Virginia. I get there, I meet my mom, dad in the stand, and I get there, and the stands were packed. And I said, "Man, I ain't never seen this many. This is like high school crowd. Why are all these people here?" And I noticed in the crowd, there were a bunch of kids that had on their jerseys and their gear. So I thought, why are all these teams in the crowd? And where is CJ? And why is he sitting up here with us in the stands? Well, Mama leaned over and said, "Well, it's not that he's playing for the championship. This is championship Saturday. The teams that are on the field are playing for the championship." I said, "So what did I come down the road for?" And he says, Mom says, "Well, when the game is over, everybody's gonna get a trophy." I said, "Oh, okay." So what happened? The championship game ended. I had never seen this. This was years ago. I didn't even have my master's degree at the time. And it was so good that I saw it because it really set the stage for what I would research and what I really just wholeheartedly teach and believe in. The game was over, and they came over the PA, the sound system, and said, "Want all the teams to get on the field." So all the teams get on the field, and CJ and them all get on the field, and they line up. And it's like 14 teams on the field, and they went team by team and gave everybody a trophy. I think that year, CJ and them had won maybe like 1 or 2 games out of about 8 or 9. And everybody got a trophy. Same thing happened with my son. They didn't lose all those games. But my son was playing. He plays basketball, plays pretty good, and got a trophy last year. And they were not the top team. They kept losing to a team from Winston-Salem, Winston Lake. They lost to them twice. Even though they don't really take score at that age, at that time they didn't when he was playing in that particular age group. The season was over, and they line them up and give them a little trophy. The trophy don't even have your name on it. It's just it's a man that's looking like this. I guess he's supposed to be playing basketball. He's looking like this. It's a weird looking trophy. And he come running to me, "Daddy, look at my trophy. I won first place." I said, "Son, you got a trophy for showing up. You didn't win nothing." Now, I know some of y'all don't like this, and that's okay. But it's a sign of the time. This generation is not only so sensitive, very sensitive, but we can't be honest about things like winning, losing, what's good, what ain't, good, best, better. We can't do it, right? So let's take the ranking system, for example. A lot of women had a problem with that. He was ranking people. having people to rank themselves. How would you rank yourself? And he would ask, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, can't use 7. How would you rank yourself fresh out of the shower? No makeup, no all of that stuff. What would you rank yourself? You can't use 7. And women would say stuff like, well, there was a few delusional people on there that would be like 8, 9. And then he would have to break that down. Like Kelly Rowland's a 9. He's right. You could say what you want to say. Kelly Rowland's a 9, right? I think he said Beyonce was an 8. So, these women would be on there like, I'm a 9, I'm a 10. No. But then you would have women that would come on and say, hey, I would give myself a 5, a 6. And then he would call them average. Can I ask y'all a question? What's 10 divided by 5? 10 divided by 2? Put in the comments if you know. What's 10 divided by 2? Don't nobody know what 10 divided by 2 is? What's 10 divided by 2? Anybody? Do I need to call my kids down here to get them to do it? They're pretty smart. What's it? Anybody scared to answer? What's 10 divided by 2? 5. If you give yourself a 5 on a scale of 0 to 10, that makes you what? Average. That makes you average. I had this conversation with a friend of mine. She asked me, she said, what would you rank yourself? She said, what would you rank yourself? I listened to a few of his videos. I was like, wow, man, this dude really is like, this stuff is wild, right? What would you rank yourself, Zeb? I said a 3, based on the standards he mentioned, how he evaluated what a high value guy was. On a scale of 0 to 10, a 3, maybe a 4 on a good day. You know why? Because I've never had a problem with the truth. I've never had a problem with seeing myself for what I am. And I've never had a problem for setting a standard that's way above the norm. And that's the problem with this generation. Not only is this generation sensitive, your standards are low. Your standards are low and your perspectives are just unreasonable. If you rank yourself a 5 or a 6 on a scale of 0 to 10, you're average. So if somebody calls you average, why does that offend you? I'll tell you why it offends you. Because this is the trophy generation. All you've ever heard growing up was that you were great. All many of you have ever heard growing up is that you were wonderful. All you've ever heard growing up is that you do everything right. All you've ever heard growing up is that you were a prince, you were a princess. That's all you ever heard. And most of you have never been challenged by people close to you that's supposed to love you to tell you what it really is. Now, granted, this is coming from the lens of somebody whose father was his AU basketball coach, 7th and 8th grade basketball coach, 9th grade world geography coach, 9th through 12th grade track coach, 10th through 12th grade assistant principal, and pastor, and daddy. And he did not treat me like Prince Charming. He made life way harder for me on the court, on the field, than he did for every other player. So hearing a man like Samuels call me average didn't bother me. Because I was raised not to be sensitive, but I was also raised to be realistic. Now, this is not only the most sensitive time ever, this is, in my opinion, one of the most weak times ever. Y'all remember from comedy to sitcoms, there's been a lot going on in the news with Chris Rock, Will Smith, and, Will Smith's older than me, but he's not far from my age. And one of the things that I marveled about with that situation with Will Smith is that he really revealed how sensitive he was. Now, this of course can be this can be part of a larger conversation about things that happened to you growing up, and I get that. And I'm not minimizing that, but understand this. Understand this. When you see that happen, and then you turn around and you look at a comic like Dave Chappelle. I ain't seen no more churches in a while. Y'all like this video? Share this video yet? I need y'all to make sure y'all do that, because it's about to get ugly. You look at a comic like Dave Chappelle, who was at the Netflix show in LA. And some bozo runs on the stage and tries to stab him, and then he gets the life beat out of him, literally. It reminds, and you read about all the hate mail he receives about his comedy. Now, listen, this is not about beliefs and what you believe. It's not. But can I ask y'all a serious question? I don't hear no churches, but that's okay. If you thinking, that's fine. I can live with it. I didn't say this earlier, let me say it now. I purposefully didn't do this live 2 weeks ago when the man died, because I refuse to capitalize off his death. I'm going to earn my likes and earn my views. I'm going to earn my subscribers. I don't need to do this on the back of nobody. Y'all don't see no cash apps or nothing up. I have people that work as moderators on for me, and I have not asked them to do it tonight, and I don't want them to do it tonight. Why? Because I want to earn my stuff, and I'm going to earn it. Okay? So it's all sincere over here. But notice this. And this is important. Notice this. This is one of the most sensitive times we live in. You might not like what Dave Chappelle has to say about homosexuals, homosexual relationships, Black people, white people, Asians. He talks about everybody. You might not like that. But one of the things I find really weird? What I find weird is that if you look back at sitcoms and comedies in the past, they were way worse than Dave Chappelle. There's a show called In Living Color. Let me see if I can find you a clip to get y'all pissed off. That's perfect. Well, look at there. Look at this. There was a clip. There was a show back in the day called In Living Color. If you remember In Living Color, I want you to type church in the comments. In Living Color used to come on Wednesdays, Thursdays, something like that. And In Living Color was a skit, was a show that was owned by the Wayans brothers. The father and his kids managed this show. And they used to talk about everybody. Black folk, white folk, Asians, straight, gay, whatever. Y'all remember this stuff right here? Let me play this real quick.
Cable Access, Channel 62 presents Men on Film.
Hello, I'm Blaine Edwards.
And I'm Antoine Mayweather.
And welcome to Men on Films, the show that looks at movies
From a male point of view.
Tonight's show is sponsored by Nuts and Honey.
What'd you say?
Nut and honey.
I bet you can't eat just one.
I bet I could.
Tonight we'll be wrapping up the summer films. First up is the box office smash Total Recall.
Yes, this is the movie where muscle-bound Arnold Schwarzenegger goes searching his past. Just a hint, Arnold. Try looking in the closet. we have Betsy's wedding. Hey there.
Now, let me say this. We grew up on that show. Y'all quiet. I don't care. You ain't got a church. I don't care. I want you to listen to me. Whether you watching live or you happen to catch this replay. We grew up on that show. That came on regular cable. Not HBO, church, not Showtime, church, not Cinemax, church, not pay-per-view. It came on Fox. Regular TV. And guess what, y'all? They never got canceled. They didn't go off the air because they got canceled. I don't know why they stopped coming on the air, to be honest with you, but they never got canceled. That came on regular primetime TV. And what it reveals is that we live in a time now more than ever where people will hate what they don't agree with. When you speak the truth, when you speak your opinion, when you make fun of something, when you give your thought or perspective on something, if it does not agree with others or agree with the masses, you will be outcast today. But this wasn't the case back in the day. And he caught on to that. He caught on to the fact that if you speak the truth and say things other people won't say, or share a different message or a profound message, you ain't going to be liked by a lot of people. Why? Because this generation can't take nothing. Now, we got a lot of mouth. Social media is giving folks a platform to run their mouth, pop off at the mouth, say what they want to say. You can retweet folk. You can do YouTube live videos and say, social media is giving people a platform to run their mouth, but people can't take nothing. Can't take nothing. And society today as a whole is far more sensitive than societies or generations of the past. Here's the truth, and I'm especially talking to you Black folks who got offended by his messages when he was asking you to rank yourself. The reality is, while you didn't like it, Black people as a whole are too big. We're too heavy. We're overweight. We love to eat the stuff you ain't got no business eating a whole lot of. I'll church myself. Church. We love to eat everything on the whole, from the rooter to the tutor. Church. We're too big. We're overweight. We have proclivity towards things like heart disease, diabetes, wearing us out. And that's regardless of genetic disposition. I understand some things are related to genetics, but that's regardless of that. We are more prone to those things, not only because of our genetics, but also because of the decisions we make with our lifestyles, how we eat, how we take care of ourselves. So this man gets on the air and calls you Big Shirley, and you get mad. For what? Because we don't like the truth. I know they're not ready for none of this conversation, but I like it. Samuel started like this: low viewers, real message. Y'all just hold on. We don't like the truth. And see, that's the crazy thing. See, when people don't like the truth, then they'll try to discredit your voice because they don't like the truth that's coming out of your voice. And see, it's crazy. Like, they didn't like this man's truth, but they love Steve Harvey's Think Like a Man. You women made Steve Harvey a multiple best times New York best time seller with Think Like a Man, and he told you when you dealing with a dude to think like one. Meanwhile, Samuels just said it's okay to be a woman and be feminine and soft. Oh, y'all quiet. But you made Steve Harvey a multiple New York Times bestseller, and he told you to act like a dude. Yes, you did. And ladies, you know why you gave Samuels a hard time, but you ain't give him a hard time? Because you didn't like what Samuel said. You like what Steve Harvey said. He empowered you to think like a dude. And see, it's crazy, right? I even heard this stuff about Samuels being divorced 2 times, right? I didn't dig into his personal life. I ain't got time to do all that. I was watching the videos. I'm about to go in. I'm on my way, V. I didn't dig into his personal life, but people start then say, oh, well, how this guy gonna say whatever, tell us that I'm Big Shirley or tell me I'm average, and he had 2 divorces. And how he gonna be the relationship expert and he ain't got no wife. I'm gonna say this out of personal experience. You can fail in relationships and still give great advice. Experience is a great teacher if you learn. Experience alone is not a teacher, but experience becomes a teacher if you learn from your experiences. So we don't know if this man learned or not. The knowledge he dropped, it feels like he learned something, but we will never know that. But I found it odd that everybody questioned Kevin Samuels being divorced twice because of the stuff that he taught and taught against. You made Steve Harvey a multiple New York Times bestseller, and he's been married 3 times. I'm going to say that slow. I don't see no churches on the screen. The screen ought to be going crazy. Have y'all liked the video, shared the video yet? What y'all waiting on? Did y'all hear what I said? Everybody gave Samuels a hard time for being divorced twice and telling men to act like men and women to act like women and men to be masculine and women to be feminine and soft. Meanwhile, Steve Harvey on marriage number 3 and was a multiple time New York Times bestseller. You know why? Because you women liked what he said. Regardless of how valid it was, you like what he said. And that's a reflection of the society we're in. We're in that kind of a society where if people like what you say, they'll roll with you. If they don't like what you say, they will act like you speaking crazy stuff. And that's why folks like Vivica Fox and all of these people that said all of this crazy stuff about karma and all of this stuff, man, y'all can miss me with all of that. The reality is, and this is the truth, the reality is most of you could not handle the truth if it slapped you in the face. And this man proved it. He gave you a lot of what he said was nothing but the truth. Now, again, I want to say this slowly. I didn't agree with everything he said, but everything he said wasn't wrong either. It wasn't wrong. You say what you want to say. Everything he said was not wrong either. But for y'all to walk around here and act like everything he said was just off and I just the audacity to call women average and to call women this and that and blah blah blah, and he been divorced twice, but you walk around talking about something, think like a dude, and he on wife number 3. See, this society is selective very selective in what it deems to be the truth. And there's nothing cool about that. I can take it a step further. You treat your pastors the same way. Because a lot of the women that were screaming about Kevin Samuels and the message that he gave and the stuff that he taught, whether you agree with it or not, a lot of the folks, women and men, because it wasn't just women. This ain't just no indictment on women tonight. There's a whole lot of dudes out here too, bashing. A lot of these dudes, a lot of these women out here bashing the stuff that he taught, had a problem with him teaching that stuff. He divorced. How dare he teach this? How dare he call somebody average? How dare he tell somebody that's under, 34, 35, that they were something or whatever, losers, whatever. He said, well, how dare he do that? But meanwhile, your bishop that you see in church every single week, that's got a wife and a boyfriend, you continue to act like you don't see it. Y'all, it's hypocrisy everywhere. That's why I don't care if they did an autopsy on this man, and I don't care what they find in his bloodstream. I don't care. That stuff doesn't, that won't faze me at all. It won't change the impact of his message, because I grew up in church with folk that could preach the walls down, who had wives and 6 boyfriends. Dudes with wives, 6, 7 boyfriends. And folks shouted like they didn't know nothing. Folks passed out like they didn't know nothing. Folks kept giving like they didn't know nothing. And yet y'all want to say that because this man had 2 divorces, he ain't have a right to say what he said. Because this man had some troubles in his past, he didn't have a right to say what he said. Y'all got to stop that, man. You got to stop it. And social media is part of the blame. The reality is this man tried to teach men how to be husbands and tried to teach women how to be wives. Social media is part of the problem, because y'all look on social media and y'all see all of these folks, especially women. You see all these women that are going to Mr. Miami, and they got all of the silicone everywhere, and have their curves and have the things on them as fake, from their hair all the way down to their toenails. And you see all of this stuff, and they IG models and they Snap models and all this stuff. They got OnlyFans and making all this money, and they drive these cars and do all this stuff. But what it has inherently done is it has created a generation of dysfunctional men and women. Men become lazy because they think the best way to make money is to make quick money, and women get sloppy and nasty because they think just because somebody likes a few folks like their pictures, or they can make a couple bucks the fast way on OnlyFans or go host a couple of parties, that they have accomplished something. And the man taught about it. He taught that women are feminine and men are masculine. And so when you criticize a woman, you're not misogynistic. You're being critical. To be misogynist means to hate women. He didn't hate women. If you watch some of his videos, he would tell you clearly he did not have a problem with women. He was not a misogynist. He criticized them. But that term, again, being hurled, was the reflection of the times that we live in. You can't criticize anybody in today's time. You can't, because most people can't take criticism without taking it personal. And he revealed that in a major way. You got to find that book called The Trophy Kids Grow Up, and you got to read it. Okay? Because it talks about the entitlement that this generation deals with. And Samuel's dealt with that. He dealt with that and then completely destroyed the idea of fairness. Well, because I'm this, I deserve this. No, none of us deserve anything but what we work for. Life doesn't owe us anything but what we work for. Fairness is not about outcomes. I think that's what he said. It was one of the most powerful statements I heard him make. Fairness is not about outcomes. It's about opportunity. Nobody owes you anything but the chance to go get what you want. And they don't really owe you that. Sometimes you got to earn the opportunity. I played sports. I didn't always start until I got older. And then I started just about every year until I stopped playing. But when you're sitting on the bench, you don't just get on the floor because you put on a uniform. You have to earn the right to get on the floor through practice. And this generation doesn't get that. And he really exposed that. This has been the opposite, especially for the Black culture. This has been the opposite of what we have seen predominantly over the last couple of years. Now, back in the days of our grandmothers, grandfathers, great-grandmas, great-grandmothers, marriage was a very strong thing. It didn't mean those marriages didn't have problems. It didn't mean those marriages didn't have challenges. But the reality is marriage was a goal and it was a strong thing. There were strong families, there were strong Black communities, and these communities together raised children as a community. Now, we can't hardly say nothing to your son or daughter when they get out of hand. You know why? Because you don't even value family yourself. Single daddy, single mama, you don't. And this is why a lot of our kids are out of hand. I went to go eat lunch with my son and daughter today, and they were really just capping all day. I never realized how much kids cap when their parents come for lunch. I guess I did it too when my parents used to come when we were younger. And you just be so excited to see your parents, you just be talking about stuff. And I'm just sitting up there watching my son and daughter just cap. Especially Giselle, she was really on some serious capping today with her friends. And but one of the things that I saw and noticed and was reminded of today was just how important it is for parents to raise children, and especially fathers. Now, again, go back and watch his content. Y'all like the video, share the video. I need y'all to share it. Especially if you go back and watch the content, he especially would ask viewers, where is your daddy? He would ask viewers, where is your daddy? You know why he asked that? Because he understood the importance of men in raising children that became productive people. So we talk about all this misogyny thing, and you see all these folks on these channels throwing out this term misogyny and completely ignoring the fact that most of the time he didn't even ask where the mama was. He asked where your daddy was. Ladies, guys, both, it didn't matter. He would have been, where's your daddy? Where's your father? Because he understood the value and the connection between a father and a child being raised the right way. He challenged the fact that, unfortunately, in our society, we think it's still okay to have children out of wedlock. Now, I'm going to get in trouble when I say this. I don't care. Listen, there was actually a day. This isn't a judgmental statement. This isn't a judgmental statement, but there was actually a day that when someone found themselves pregnant out of wedlock, it was a shameful experience. Now, let me give this caveat here because y'all not ready for what I'm about to say. I have a sister. I have a mother. Okay? I have clients who've had children out of wedlock. You can have a child out of wedlock and still be successful. Okay? You can have a child out of wedlock and still have a great life. Okay? So I'm not suggesting that that's not the case at all. What I am suggesting, though, is that the man reminded us that families back in the day were actually more sensitive to things like that really position us to build foundations of strong family units. Can you survive? Can you thrive? Can you live a great life as a single mother, single father? Absolutely, you can. You can. I wish I would have heard him. I wish I would have heard him promote that more. Because I think in many ways, he was given a bad rap in that regard. He was given a bad rap. Like he was given this rap that he was just so anti-women that had, children out of wedlock. You could never get a high value guy because of kids. I wish he would have taken a different stance there. I get what he was getting at. Do your choices in many cases sometimes minimize? Absolutely. I think we have to be realistic about that. Children changes things. It can. It's a dynamic that can change things as it relates to how others see you as an appealing candidate to being with them. That's just the fact. We don't have to like it. It's the truth. So, but I wish he would have really, talked about how you can have children out of wedlock and still get somebody valuable, high value in your life. You can. But come on, y'all. Was the man all the way bad because he told girls, listen, man, stop going out here and giving this stuff up to everybody and work on being a feminine woman and prepare yourself to be a wife? Was that all the way wrong? Now, y'all don't like that. But let me tell y'all who y'all didn't drag. Let me just go on and say church in advance. You didn't drag Love and Hip Hop. Church. Love and Hip Hop LA, Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, Love and Hip Hop Miami, Love and Hip Hop wherever. You don't drag Love and Hip Hop and all that ghetto foolishness that be on there sometimes. You didn't drag that. You dragged this man when he talked about having healthy relationships, especially in the Black community between Black men and Black women, but you didn't drag basketball wives. You didn't drag none of that. You didn't drag basketball wives. You glorified basketball wives as a goal. Let me go get somebody out here that's big ball, has got money, and I can go out here and live a lavish lifestyle regardless of how they treat me. And regardless of how I respect myself. We praise that foolishness. You didn't drag him for talking about healthy relationships between Black men and Black women, but you never dragged Maury. Maury Povich is a multi-millionaire. And all he does is read paternity tests. You didn't drag him. And all we did, some other races were on there too, but all we do is get on Maury, screaming and yelling about folks being our baby's daddy this, I'm not the baby's daddy that. The tests come back, you are not the father. You get up out the chair and run backstage crying, and we got to go test 7 more people. And while you doing that, the dude on stage dancing and high-fiving folk in the crowd like it's honorable that he dodged a bullet. You didn't cancel Maury. You didn't criticize Maury. You criticized this man for talking about folks coming together as families. But you didn't criticize Jerry Springer. Jerry Springer just as bad. In fact, Jerry Springer's show has dumbed down so much to where he don't even talk about real issues. All he literally does is let them come out. They don't even have chairs on the set anymore. They stand on the stage, introduce their name, and the crowd will say something crazy, and then there'll be he has a pole on his stage. He has a stripper pole on his stage, and the crowd will clap or something and say pole, pole, and they will run over to the pole and just flat out start dancing. Ratings sky high. Y'all ain't criticize him, but you criticize Samuels because he told you, don't be out here looking like a fool in the streets. Ladies, stop going to Walmart with your bonnets on. Y'all want me to talk about that? Stop going to Walmart into the grocery store with your bonnets on. Fellas, if you have value, put on a suit sometimes. A good fitting suit. Be the representation of what you want to be. Y'all don't like this. Ain't nobody saying church, I don't care. See, we shun this dude, but what he preached against to this day is still praised and glorified in movies. There are movies that still glorify a portrayal of Black relationships that are poor, subpar, and not acceptable for high-value people, man or woman. Yes, a woman can be a high-value woman, of course, and a man can be a high-value man. But a lot of this stuff we see on movies and television that we still watch and praise is crap to folks who know what real high value is. I don't care what you say. We still celebrate movies like Baby Boy. We watch Baby Boy, and old girl was loud and she compromised herself, and old Jody was toxic and he loved to smash. And we praise that. We praise it to the point where we think it's cool for women to be loud and to compromise themselves, to be seen, to be heard first and seen second. We think that's cool. We think it's cool for a dude to be hard, to be toxic, to be inconsistent with his attitude, to be sometimes, to not want us, to brush us off, ladies. We think that's cool. Ain't nothing cool about that. And yet we praise it. We praise Madea. I think Tyler Perry is a talented brother. I want to be very clear here. I think Tyler Perry is a very talented brother, but listen to me. These portrayals he had in Madea, it's bullcrap. Why all the successful men got to be the toxic bad ones in the relationships, and all the great men in relationships on Madea are the plumbers and mechanics and folks that just got blue collar jobs or driving a bus or in unemployment. It dumbs down what a successful Black man can look like. You can be successful, wear suits, have great jobs, and not be toxic. You can be successful, wear suits, have a great job and a great career, and not beat your woman. So I'm just not a Madea fan. I'm not, again, this ain't a personal knock against Tyler Perry. I think, again, he's a talented brother. You can't ignore that. But come on, dude. Not all successful Black men are toxic, and not all non-successful basic Black men are good. We still like the movie Color Purple. I hate the movie Color Purple. Found out and watching some of Samuel's videos, he didn't like Color Purple either. And I was just like, man, all this confirmation. I knew I wasn't crazy. Y'all, I've been talking about hating that movie since October of last year. Didn't even know who the dude was. Why? Because in Color Purple, all you got is loudmouth Sophia, and you got all of these sorry dudes that's using women. That's not the reality of what families are supposed to look like. That's not the reality of what families are supposed to look like. And so it's not cool. The reactions to this man's death, in my opinion, proved that the comments he gave while he lived had real legitimacy. People can't stand the truth that is inconvenient to them. I want you to put that in the comments and don't ever forget it. People, or just say church if you don't feel like typing all of that. People cannot stand a truth that is inconvenient to them. Most people only like a truth that makes sense to them, that's convenient to them, that works for them. He proved it. He completely debunked it. It's crazy. And, you know, there was all this talk, we're canceling. We need to cancel him. We need to do this and cancel him and do this and do this. Y'all didn't cancel Simon Cowell from American Idol. And I love Simon, by the way. Simon, you get on American Idol, and Simon, and you couldn't sing, Simon would stop the song and say, hey, he wouldn't just tell you couldn't sing. He'd stop the song and say, you need to go find a cruise ship somewhere. Go find a cruise ship, put on a uniform, and go sing on a cruise ship. And folk would be humiliated on the stage because he didn't, or Phil looked crazy on the stage because he didn't say, hey, you can't sing. We're not going to go with you. We're going to go with somebody else. We wish you the best of luck. No, he said, you need to just go find you a cruise ship somewhere and go sing on the ship. And would make light of it, but be dead serious. We didn't cancel him. But let me tell you why. Part of the reason why Samuels was threatened to be canceled so much was because not only was he speaking the truth, he was speaking it as a black man. And as a working professional, I started in corporate America when I was 20 years old. I finished undergrad at Radford University at the age of 20. So in corporate America, working around a bunch of older people, I had to grow up really fast. And let me tell you something, nothing is more intimidating oftentimes in corporate America. This isn't true in all circles. Our society has come a long way. Is it where it needs to be? Absolutely not. But it's come a long way. But especially at that time, there was nothing more intimidating than a young black man who was intelligent, articulate, competent, knew his stuff, and was not afraid to speak his mind. And we saw that with Samuels. Simon Cowell, and I'm not knocking him, he did the same thing. And nobody talked about how rude he was to the point where he was being smeared on social media and it was threatening to take it. In fact, he was so good at it, he ends up starting other shows like America's Got Talent and other shows and goes on to be a multi-millionaire. He might be a billionaire. He wasn't canceled. But that's because people cannot stand the truth that is inconvenient to them. If the truth is inconvenient to them, they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. I'm going to be honest with you, and I want to wrap this up. This guy, Samuels, when I watched this stuff, really influenced, encouraged, probably motivated, and inspired me in ways way more than most preachers ever have. This isn't a knock on other preachers. You can take this for what it's worth. A lot of preachers preach messages, teach things out of convenience, not out of conviction. I'm going to say that again slow. A lot of them teach and preach things out of convenience and not out of conviction. The reality is I've always been a conviction teacher, a conviction developer. I don't care who doesn't like it. I'm going to tell you what it is. That's if we're in a religious circle, a professional circle, a personal circle, it don't matter. I'm going to tell you like it is. You ain't got to like it. But my convictions won't allow me to operate any other way. So this man really influenced me because he proved that you can be authentic and true to yourself and still be effective. And I was remarked by the stories I read and I saw where people would say, yeah, I met him. And when I met him, I thought he was going to be some kind of butthole, but he turned out to be one of the nicest people I ever met. And that's because his message didn't have anything to do with his personality. We get it mixed up. We think people's personality is identical to their message. Your message and your personality aren't always the same. Your message and your personality. Listen, my message is very vocal and outspoken. If you've known me and been around me any significant period of time and know me intimately, you know I don't like to run the streets. I'm a homebody. When I do go out, I don't like to be in the mix. I don't want a lot of people around me. I work in occupations and things where I have to deal with people all the time. So when I'm hanging out, I don't like to be around a lot of people and be in the mix. I'm actually really good going to a restaurant, going to a secluded area so I can have some privacy and some peace. And if I'm by myself, put in my headphones, put on some YouTube and watch TV and have my steak and enjoy it. Or if I'm with people, still be in a secluded area where we can enjoy ourselves and be okay and be cool. I don't have to be in the mix. Why? Because what I do for an occupation and what my personality is aren't always the same. They're not. Everybody that's an extrovert at work is not necessarily an extrovert in private. So it didn't shock me that the man was nice. There were stories about how nice the man was when folks met him. And folks talking about how shocked they were. He was nice. He was so nice. He was nothing like he was on camera. Of course not. He was just telling you the truth. It wasn't his personality. He was just telling you the truth. And most people can't separate the two. He became a bad guy because he told the truth. And people couldn't separate who he was as a person because they couldn't get over the message he gave. And that's the problem with our generation. See, because again, honesty is bigger than race. Honesty is bigger than gender. Honesty is bigger than sexuality. Honesty is bigger than all of that stuff. Right is still right and wrong is still wrong. And some of y'all miss what you need for your life because you can't get over the truth. Well, he could have said stuff, Zeb, a little bit better. He could have said a better way. You eat hot dogs, don't you? You eat hot dogs? Yeah. Say church. You eat hot dogs. Many of you do. You eat hot dogs. Do you know how hot dogs are made? They ain't made neat. There's all kinds of stuff in hot dogs that you be eating and smiling. You put them on the grill. You make them real black. You do all of that stuff and you steady eat them. So y'all can miss me with delivery. The reality is, while his delivery was what it was, many of you missed the message because you was caught up on how the hot dog was made. And you paid less attention to just putting the hot dog on the grill, making it black, like I like a good black burnt hot dog, putting some homemade chili and slaw on it and eating it and shutting up. So you missed out on the beauty and the brilliance and the talent of this young man because you didn't like the wrapping of the message he gave you. People struggle with the message when they don't like the wrapping. Black women complain about his tone as if we as men can't say the same thing about your tone. You know what I find so funny? Let me just go and get in trouble here to say this. You know what I find so funny? I found it funny how especially black women especially criticize this man and his tone for how he talked to other black women, but you never criticize other black women for how they talk to black men. I'm going to say that slow. This might be the best statement I've made all night. Church, I'm going to write church. Let me type church in here because y'all don't like this. So let me agitate y'all. Church. You know, I find it ironic and odd how y'all criticize this man for how he talked to black women, but I've yet to hear a black woman tell another black woman, you know, child, you shouldn't talk to your man like that. You should take some of that attitude out of your voice all the time when you're talking to him. You shouldn't talk to him like he's your son. You should talk to him like he's a man. Oh, y'all don't like that, do you? That's okay. I don't see no churches. Y'all listen, I don't care. I purposely did this 2 weeks later because I wanted the people who needed to hear it to hear it. Don't worry, we got more content. We're going to be breaking down a lot of these topics. We'll be probably doing about 3 lives a week. And I'm excited about it. But come on, y'all. We got to be honest about this. Black women, you complain about his tone, but we can say the same thing about your tone. Some of y'all don't know how to talk to people. You don't. And you get mad and you blame it on your attitude. Well, when I get mad, you know how I get when I get mad. Ain't no excuse for that. If you can complain about this man's tone, we can complain about your tone too. Change your attitude and change your tone when you get an attitude. Change your tone when you get mad. Change your tone when somebody offends you. Change your tone when you don't get your way. I know. Ain't but 2 people saying church. Everybody else quiet. He defeated the notion that if you fail, you can't help others. Yes, you can help others if you fail. The man had 2 failed marriages. I've had failed relationships. You've had failed relationships. It doesn't mean you can't help people. It's about whether or not you can learn from them. Steve Harvey had 3 marriages, and y'all made him a multiple New York Times bestseller. Don't ever forget it. Don't ever forget it. You can fail and still help other people. See, this man reminded me that not only can you fail and still help other people, the other thing that he helped me to realize that, especially in ministry spaces, that you can be versatile, right? I'm going to be starting something called Church TV. That's the announcement. It's going to be called Church TV. And it'll be coming soon. So I'm getting y'all in the habit now of saying church when you hear things you agree with. One day we're going to look up and the live going to be packed with thousands of people, and you're just going to see a bunch of church. Just watch. Where'd this come from? Well, for me, it was easy. I like to have conversations that are hard, conversations that are honest, and conversations that are healthy. And that's what that man did. That man really inspired me. When he passed away, I really, not only did I feel bad, and not only did I feel sad that I wasn't going to be able to get my one-on-one session. And I was telling this friend, I had a feeling I was going to pay for this session, and this man was going to get on the camera, and he was going to cuss me out. And I was going to sit there like a man and take it. I couldn't wait. I was looking forward to it. I was waiting on him. I was waiting on him to say, Zeb, how do you rank yourself? A 2? You ain't going to get me. I was looking forward to that. But when he passed away, it reminded me, Zeb, you got all of this talent and ability. You need to do something with it. So Church TV will be coming soon, right? It's going to be a YouTube broadcast we're going to do 3 times a week, and I'm going to build it slowly. I'll build it. It's going to work. But the 3 H's in church stand for conversations that are hard, honest, and healthy. From everything to relationships to church stuff to stuff that y'all get very uncomfortable talking about, I'm going to talk about it. Why? Because he proved to all of us that there's a market for the truth. You've got to be willing to take it, tell it, and you got to be willing to be yourself when you do it. All right? And you got to realize that what's good for the geese is good for the gander. Ladies, women can get offended by the names he called y'all. But it's so crazy how women don't get offended by the women who call men names. Y'all, we can't have it both ways. We cannot have it both ways. This ain't karma. What happened to him wasn't karma. It's God. God took his life. It wasn't karma. It's God. And there's a big difference between karma and God. I don't have time to deal with that tonight. But there is a big difference between karma and God. Do you always get what you give? I heard that. That ain't true. You don't always get what you give. There's a whole bunch of us that deserve great things, and we've been given a whole lot, and we ain't got jack back yet. That's okay. You got to keep giving and pushing. You eventually get what you deserve, but you don't always get what you give. You don't always get what you give. So this whole idea that this man got death because that's what he gave out, and he said folks are going to die lonely and miserable. He was trying to move a point. Again, this isn't about agreeing with everything. I don't agree with everything he said. I agree with a lot of it. I agree with most of what he said. I go out on a limb and say that I agree with most of what he said. Right? There's some things I could easily digest, and I might maybe deal with them later, that he said that I did not agree with. But most of what he said, I absolutely agreed with. But come on, man. This whole idea of you were giving out death, you got death, that was God. No, and that was karma. No, it wasn't karma. That was God. God took the man, and God can do that. But it ain't always true that you get what you give. So, in my opinion, I think the real tragedy of his life and death is that we really missed out as a people on the impact of honest, hard, healthy conversation. We missed out on that. That man reminded us that change comes when you have honest, hard, and healthy conversations. All right, y'all. I've been on with y'all for 2 hours. I don't have nothing else to say. I want you to tune in next week. I might even do a show this weekend. I'm just in the mood. I'm really reinvigorated, re-excited to just get back into this mix. I'm pulling my streams off of Facebook. I might eventually bring them onto YouTube. Instagram, and maybe even TikTok, and just grow that direction. I'm very mindful of my audience on Facebook. I think a lot of these folks just can't handle me saying the stuff that I say. But I know there's a market for the truth, and I ain't gonna shut up. In fact, it's gonna get worse before it gets better. But it is my intention to give you 3 shows a week, and I'm excited about it. And so I want you to like this video. I want you to subscribe to this video if you haven't, or our channel if you haven't already done that. You can find us on YouTube. Just go to the search bar and type in Zeb the Third. But I want you to like this video, subscribe to this channel, comment, drop a comment in the comments area, but hit that share button. And I want you to share this video, and then make plans to see us again when we come back on the air soon. Hit that bell notification icon as well, so you can be notified when we go live. And I promise you'll be glad that you did. All right, y'all. I love y'all. I'm rooting for you. I want you to have a fantastic week, and we will see you on next time. Okay? Peace and blessings.